Hey, welcome to Sports Unfolded NHL Ranking Show. I'm your host, Eric. Main man over there, Ron. How are you?
You're getting good at that.
I'm
With that
getting much
pointing.
better at it. So you are my NHL guru. Each week we put out our NHL rankings compiled by you based on how you feel the teams performed for the previous week is kind of how you come up with your rankings. Because there's been some, as I've already posted, some comments about certain teams not being in. So they'll give you an opportunity today to explain some of your decisions.
Oh, well, look, like I said last week, I believe that the NHL network is behind the ball. They're behind. Let's get with it. They just put Boston in there for the first time last week, and Boston has been the best team since January. Clearly,
Record-wise, yeah.
it's not even that close, to be honest with you. They're still in the last 20 games. They're still the best team in the NHL. In the last 20.
Yeah.
So anybody that is disappointed or upset that I had Boston in there a few times this year should not be upset because they deserve it. They're a good team, and I don't think anybody wants to play them in the first round. Look, 1-8 in the East can win the Stanley Cup. You can't say that about the West.
Yeah, the East is definitely tough. Definitely tougher. Let's start off then at a number 5 team.
Number 5. Look, I gave this team their opportunity. I called them out last week, and they came through, against my team, which was very painful. But Toronto Maple Leafs, they got in. I think they were in once before in this season.
Yes.
And they played very well this year. They played very well. Like I said, they go 2-1 every week. This week they did not. They had a very good week, and winning their 3 games, including in Boston, and they took over that 5th spot.
Got him in the lead. Got him on the list. So 44-19-5 overall on the season. 7-3 in their last 10. So to your point, performing very well the last 10 games. Tough stretch here though. At Tampa Bay, at Florida, at Dallas, and then home against Montreal.
Yeah. So this 5 spot could be short lived.
Yes. I mean, they're 19-12-3 on the road.
Yeah.
They're not overly impressive on the road. I mean, much better at home, but again, all 3 of those games on the road might be very difficult. I mean, Tampa Bay and Florida, obviously, we assume are 2 very good teams. Dallas is underperformed a little bit, but still a very good team. And then a cakewalk with Montreal. They should be able to beat Montreal. But to your point, if they lose,
Montreal beat them already, I believe, a week ago.
2 or 3. So one of the things you discussed also with Toronto, right? Very good offensively. So 258 goals for this season. So they have the offensive power.
Yeah, they scored 13 goals in those 3 games. I mean, it might have even been more than that. They scored 6, and I think 5. So, you're looking at 17, possibly 17 goals last week in those 3 games. I mean, that's some offense. But their big 6-1 lead they had over Boston, they almost squandered it. If the Bruins didn't wake up, at least coming into the third period, it took them 10 minutes just to get, going in the third period. And they almost collapsed. So their defense is suspect. I mean, really suspect. I mean, Giordano improved them, but that team, it scares. Well, it doesn't scare me. I'm glad, but it's scary for Toronto fans that they can give up goals in a heartbeat as long as you put pressure on them.
So let me ask you this before we go on to our number 4 team. So 2 teams that kind of could have possibly been in, and I'm going to ask you first off, the New York Rangers, 44-20 and 6-3-1 in their last 10. Particular reason why you left them off the list?
Yeah. Well, they went 2-1-1 this week, so you lost 2 games. But I'm not putting you in if you lost 2 games. You got to be unscathed, to get in there. You have to be unscathed. I'm not putting a team that loses a game up into the top 5. Sorry.
What about Tampa Bay? So Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay had a good week. I believe they were 3-0, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at my list here. 2-0-1. So they lost in overtime, but again, they've played much better this week than they have in the previous, month. So,
with the week Toronto's having, depending on who Tampa plays, probably a good chance Tampa's back on the list.
Well, Tampa Bay has got Toronto, then they're at Washington, then they home against Boston and Buffalo. So they don't have an easy schedule this week either. And I would think, the winner of that Tampa Bay Boston game could find themselves back in. That's if Tampa Bay takes care of business, with Toronto and, the others.
Yeah.
So, but they have a tough schedule this week too. So Tampa Bay is not a given to get back in there. So, out of all of that, I like New York Rangers' chances this week. I mean, they got a game against Pittsburgh, but New Jersey and Ottawa really pose no threat.
Yeah.
So it's that game against Pittsburgh. So Rangers could find themselves back in there next week. I think that's the better chance.
Good insight, my friend. Thank you. So let's talk about this number 4 team who, honestly, out of all the teams that are on the list, probably underperformed the most in the last 10. I know their record, it kind of keeps them afloat currently, but I'm still kind of concerned as to where they're heading. So they're 45-16 and 8, 4-3-3 in their last 10.
Yeah.
Benefit for them though, back-to-backs against Buffalo. So at Buffalo, then home Buffalo.
That helps.
Then they play the Islanders, who definitely have underperformed, and then Anaheim. So you've got 4 games this upcoming week that honestly they should win.
Yeah, they should win all 4. If they don't win all 4, they could be in trouble.
Yeah, 25-6-4 at home. I mean, I'd be shocked to see them not win.
Yeah,
at home, extremely good at home. Number 1 against goals. So goals against 164, the best team defensively when it comes up to giving up points.
Yeah.
And you're playing 3 teams that honestly don't really scare anybody when it comes to putting up points.
Look, if you're playing New Jersey at all, that is where you can right your ship. Because you want to talk about bad defense. Look, New Jersey has some great young talent. And everybody that seems to roll into play in New Jersey is lighting up, with 7-8 goals lately. So with Carolina, they don't get that, but they get the next best thing with Buffalo. I mean, you should be able to take care of business, and that should get Carolina starting to roll again. Look, if they don't perform well this week, I think the lack of big moves on their part at the trade deadline is really going to cost them in this playoff run, because 4 or 5 other teams really made a mark on the trade deadline.
Yeah, and again, I know
Carolina was quiet.
Yeah, when we discussed, they did small move.
Yeah,
but nothing that honestly was, you talk playoff caliber.
Yeah, and I think that's going to hurt them.
So at number 3, very exciting young team. Almost reminds you, similar to the NBA when you talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, just a smaller market team. that
Yes.
was very unexpected. But the Minnesota Wild have continued to play very good hockey.
Look, Kirill the Thrill lives up to that name. He is a budding superstar. If he's not already, this kid, he just reminds me of Pasternak. He's that good, and I think the coming years we're going to see a lot of Pasternak and Kirill up at the top of those leaderboards and goals, along with Austin Matthews. I mean,
Yeah.
that's to me that seems like it's destined.
And again, if you think about the trade deadline and then picking up Marc-Andre Fleury,
Oh
who's
my God,
it's a
what a great
backup
deal.
role though. Even it's not like he's the start. They've secured just in case when they get into the playoffs. They've got a guy now that knows how to win in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that says a lot about Minnesota because Marc-Andre Fleury, not only did he nix a deal for the Washington Capitals, which they really needed him, he also nixed a deal with Bruins.
Oh wow!
The Bruins were in, the talks for him,
Huh.
which is surprising, but not really when you think about it, because they wanted to have Tuukka, for the playoff
Yeah,
run because of that experience. And, even though Swayman and even Ullmark is playing well, they wanted to get Fleury, and he ended up in Minnesota. And it had to have something to do with being close to his family because they uprooted and went to Chicago. So Minnesota is not that far
yeah,
away.
yeah.
So I have to say it must be because of that. Because I don't think you nix a deal to come to Boston with that roster. Like, I can understand maybe Washington, there might, he might not have
Yeah.
wanted to go to Washington D.C. because they're not playing very well, and so I can understand that. But when he nixed the Boston deal, that says volumes to
About
being with family.
what
So,
Minnesota's
but
doing.
Minnesota, though, they got him,
Yeah,
and just the presence of him on the team has improved the play of Talbot and the rest of the team. They've been lights out
yeah.
the
So
last couple of weeks.
they're 43-20-5 on the season, but 9-0-1 in their last 10.
Yeah,
At Nashville, at St. Louis, and then home for LA. So
a tough schedule,
yeah, not
not overly difficult, but
but still some opportunities there. They are 19-13-3 on the road. So some concern is the road play and how well they can do on the road. But again, another team that does really well when you talk about points, 252 points for. They're a plus 43 on the season
yeah,
in the differential. So again, they're doing enough to win games and win games convincingly.
absolutely.
And it's just funny to see because as soon as I was looking at the list, I started thinking about the NBA rankings as well. And I said, this is that same
Yeah,
Memphis. Nobody
exactly.
expected this. And
Right, and
it's
I'll
fun
tell
to
you,
see.
they made another deal at the deadline and picked up Delorier. A scrappy, fourth liner, that's going to give them some grit. And we've talked about this grit for a long time, and
Yeah.
you're going to see this in the homework session that I had. You're going to see that grit because without those players on the fourth line, you don't win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
That guy, he scored in his first game in Minnesota, and he's been a spark plug for this team. And they have played so well, so well.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see. We could say a clear threat to Colorado in the West,
Yes, yes.
right? Colorado's been
So they got
performing.
two teams to contend with now.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty fun to see. So at number 2,
Number
moving
2,
back up,
Florida Panthers.
have come back to life. 48-15-6 on the season, 8-2
Yeah,
in their last 10.
yeah, 4-0 this past week.
Yeah, They played home for Toronto, so a big game. That's a nice game to watch this week to see where they stand versus another top East
Yeah,
team.
hopefully they can help out Boston.
Yeah, and then Buffalo at home, and then at Nashville. So two really good games in there. They're very good at home, 28-6 at home.
Yeah.
And they are the top scoring team in the league at 287 goals for. Plus 83, again, leads the league. So, again, they're winning convincingly. It's not a
Yeah,
most
no,
of them gone close.
it's been lights out for them. Claude Giroux, I think his addition will help them in the playoffs so much with the little things. Just like because like Florida doesn't have like a great history in the playoffs. Okay, so Claude Giroux can help them with that. He's going to bring the experience. He's going to bring the touch in front of the net. He's going to bring the passing skills, and he's going to make sure that he gets you the puck when you're open. And with the amount of talent on that team, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be putting the puck in the net from all over the place.
Yeah.
So he should help them in the playoffs, and I really like this team the way it's built. I really like it. And nobody's talking about Barkov, who, the captain that, previous of this season held the record with 97 points for Florida Panther, which now just got tied by Huberdeau. So, and there's still like 14 games left, and Huberdeau is going to break that, obviously. So, but Barkov is there. He is a very good player. We talk about those players like Patrice Bergeron. Every team needs one of those guys. If you want to win a Stanley Cup, you got to have one.
Yeah.
And Barkov is that guy. So.
No, it's amazing to say again. They've continued to play well throughout the season. Again, they made some moves at the deadline that
lots of them.
Right, we expect to really help them, and it was more for the playoff push to make sure that they had enough depth and quality guys to be able to get through the East, which you said is extremely tough. It's
going to be.
It's not going to be an easy ride.
It's going to be brutal. No matter, it doesn't even matter where you finish, 1-8. You're not going to have an easy ride. It's not going to be easy. I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
like anybody can get eliminated at any point.
So this number one team, though, has remained number one.
It's been like 3 or 4 weeks now.
From Florida. So Florida could push them depending on how they finish here. But Colorado, who's remained the number one team for quite a few weeks now, 49-14-6, 8-1-1 in their last 10. So that always helps.
Yeah.
They're at Pittsburgh, at Winnipeg, and then at Edmonton, all on the road. 21-10-3 on the road, so still 11 games over 500 on the road. I mean,
it's not too shabby.
No, I think only 4 losses at home, which is
I know that's
pretty amazing
for
a season. Can Colorado, remain on top next week?
They got some games in there. Look, they beat Pittsburgh the other day. Now they go to Pittsburgh. I got to think that Pittsburgh is going to be up for this one. That's going to be a tough game. To win, back-to-back games with a team is not easy. And especially if that team has, Malkin and Crosby on it, along with a whole cast of other goal scorers, like Rust and, there's so many. And you got Lang on defense. Pittsburgh's a good team, and Jari, it's a very complete team, to be honest with you. So, I don't expect them to actually beat Pittsburgh in this one. But depending on what everybody else does, because everybody's got some tough games in their week ahead of them. So. There's no doubt Colorado is going to still be in that top 5. There's no doubt.
Oh,
and
no
I can't see them dropping more than one spot if they took a loss to Pittsburgh. It's just whether or not they're going to take other losses this week. So,
And again, that Edmonton game is an interesting game as well. So
Yeah,
again,
Edmonton's
Edmonton,
going to play desperate, you know?
so that would be a fun game to kind of take a peek at.
And you know Colorado's going to be up for that one because Colorado doesn't want anybody else to get any hope.
No, I mean, it makes sense. Listen, if you
know, you got the top two goal scoring players on that team. Colorado's going to be up for that game. They're going to be up for it.
And again, listen, only 189 goals against, so they're not giving up a lot. They're plus 73. They're, I think, second overall in point differential, right behind Florida. So again, they're winning games but they're outscoring their opponent in a significant amount.
Right. You know, and I talk about Edmonton. Now, Edmonton went 4-0 this past week. Now, if that was anybody that was really close to being in there, they would have been in there. But Edmonton has played so poorly and so sporadically throughout the whole season that a 4-0 week, you have to do more. You have to do more in order to get into the top 5, because that right now I have them at number 14. So just because you beat up on the West Coast doesn't mean you're going to be in there. You know, you'll beat the Kings, Anaheim, San Jose, and Seattle. Going 4-0, yeah, that's great, but prove it against somebody good. So you come out, you have a perfect week and beating Colorado, then we'll start talking.
Yeah. And I think people need to realize too how you look at it is quality of opponents.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. So it's not just about what you did during the week, but who did you beat in that week?
Yeah.
Or who did you lose to? Look, that's also a factor.
Oh, absolutely. Look, somebody asked me, you know, because I said if Columbus was in the Western Conference, they'd be in 4th place. And they were like, why do you say that? And I'm like, well, because there's only 3 legitimate teams in the Western Conference right now. And that is Colorado, Calgary, and Minnesota. And it's like, what? They're the only legitimate teams? Yes. And I'll tell you, look, you're beating up on the bottom feeders, you know, like there's a lot of bad teams out there. And, you know, even though LA Kings are in 2nd place, do they deserve it? Like, really, if they were in the the Eastern Conference, I don't think they'd be in the playoffs. Period.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, the East is definitely tough. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that they're all kind of together. Boston's in the wild card spot, 93 points.
Yeah, and I have exactly. This is what I'm saying. They'd be what, 2nd?
Yeah, it's unreal. It's unreal. So let's bring up the list.
No, go ahead.
Right. So let's bring up the list here and let's just see where we came out. Bam. So at number 5, Toronto Maple Leafs. Again, discussed there could be some movement there. Usually 4-5's been the most movement we've seen. So Minnesota was actually 5th. I think they moved up to 3rd. So Carolina at 4. Again, they had a rough week. Possibly again, depending on if they can't get through these 4 easy games, could be off this list next week, which would be pretty amazing.
That could be.
Number 3, Minnesota. Again, young, fun team. We're really excited what they're doing there. Florida Panthers at number 2, and then the Colorado Avalanche remain at number 1. So really good list this week. Already started some controversy. I love it. That's what we want. We want fans to tell us what we did wrong.
Yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. I haven't done anything wrong this whole season, to be honest with you.
So as we normally do each week, Ron, I challenge you to
this one was a hard one.
This was a hard one for you said, but we are going to give the top 5 NHL playoff upsets.
Yes.
So you're going from 5-1 on what was one of the biggest upsets to the biggest upset.
Yeah, we're going to give the kids out there a little history lesson today.
I love it. So what do you got at 5, my friend?
Okay, so number 5 was very recent, and I led this, after we discussed this last week. Number 5 was Columbus defeating Tampa Bay in 2019 in the first round. Shocking the Tampa Bay Lightning. Shocking. Because the season before, Tampa Bay Lightning went to the conference finals and lost to Washington. The team came back the following year and expected to win a Stanley Cup. You know, they brought everybody back and better. So when they lost to Columbus, it was a shocking, because everybody was expecting, okay, we're going to see that Boston Tampa Bay, you know, in the second round, which is what everybody wanted to see. That did not happen. Now, to put it in perspective on how big of an upset that is, Tampa Bay was 62-16-4.
Wow.
They were by far and away the better team. They were the best team in the league. So it was a huge upset. The following year, Tampa Bay came back, won the Stanley Cup, and then they won it again last year.
Yeah. So it goes to show you how good they really were. And
yeah, they really were that good. So that was number 5.
I like that. Oh, that's a good one. That was a very good one.
Number 5.
4. Who do you got?
All right. So number 4, I've got. Can't even read my writing, to be honest with you.
We're gonna have to get you.
I got Montreal Canadiens and Toronto Maple Leafs. Back in 1945 in the conference semifinals.
1945. You're bringing
1945. Now, I was not there.
No, you weren't around then.
But being a fan of hockey, I make sure I know, what I know. Now, Montreal was 38-8-4 that season. If they played less games back then, 50 games, I believe it was. Toronto was 24-22-4. They were barely over 500.
Okay.
So they defeated Montreal in 6 games, went on to the Stanley Cup to face another heavily favored team, the Detroit Red Wings. And they defeated them in 7. They almost collapsed. They had a 3-0 lead. Detroit came storming back and then lost in Game 7. Wow. So that was number 4, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
So not only are we not covering today's sports, we're covering yesterday's sports.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Maybe last week's. Number 3 goes back even further.
Holy cow.
So, all right. Kids, bring out the history books.
All right.
1937-38 Chicago Blackhawks team. Now, they finished 30 points behind Boston. Boston was the top team. Back then, everybody but the last place teams in the divisions went to the playoffs.
Okay.
So, you pretty much were always in.
Yeah.
But the Chicago Blackhawks, 14-25-9 record.
Impressive.
They beat out, I want to say it was Toronto by 2 points. Oh, it might have been Detroit. For the last spot.
I think the most amazing thing is, think about being that last place team. You're the only team that didn't make it. Like,
yeah,
wow,
I know.
that's really
that's pretty bad. Well, there was 2 teams that didn't make it.
But that's still.
Because one was the Canadian division and one was the American division.
That's
so they defeated the powerhouse Montreal Canadiens in the first round. Then they beat New York in the second round, and they went on to Toronto and beat the Toronto Maple Leafs without their top goaltender. He got hurt and was out for the series. So the goaltender was Mike Karakis, and he missed the finals because of a toe injury.
Wow.
So the 37-38 Chicago Blackhawks rolled through the playoffs with 14 total wins in that season.
Unreal. That's a great one. That's
So,
really fun.
you know,
How
and
many straight? 14 straight wins? Is that what you said?
no,
Oh,
no.
they had 14 wins. They
They
roll
had
after
14 wins in the season,
Yeah, yeah,
and then
gotcha.
they won in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
that's phenomenal.
But back then, I believe it was best of 5 also.
It's still that's still
But yeah,
impressive.
still, I mean, you only
Still.
won 14 games.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
So then there's the top 2, which is probably on everybody's list for the top 2, biggest upsets. And it's mostly because of the rosters. And this was a tough one for me because I couldn't figure out which way I wanted to go.
Number 1, number 2.
But
Okay.
number 2, I have the Edmonton Oilers defeating the Detroit Red Wings. And that was, I didn't even write down the year, but I believe it was 2003 or 2006, somewhere. It was one of those two. I can't quite remember. But that was Steve Yzerman's last year. And I'm actually kind of sad that he let it go at that. Now, the Detroit Red Wings was a big powerhouse, okay?
Yeah.
So it had Yzerman, Shanahan, Lidstrom, Chelios, Lang, the list goes on. It was a great team. Great team. They were 24 points ahead in the standings of Edmonton back then. Back then, Edmonton had not won a playoff series in 8 years. Nobody even knew who the players were because they were like unknowns.
Yeah.
There was no Gretzky. There was none of that there. But goaltender Dwayne Rollerson brought Edmonton to a big win over the Detroit Red Wings, who were the best team in hockey. Brought them all the way to the Stanley Cup. Now Oilers were the 8th seed, and obviously Detroit was the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
So they beat Detroit, and then they rolled on, and they lost in the Stanley Cup.
Awesome.
That was number 2.
I like
now,
it. Okay.
Number 1 I put ahead because of, the roster. So the LA Kings defeated Edmonton Oilers. Now, this is the dynasty Edmonton Oilers.
Okay, this is the Gretzky.
This is the Gretzky, the Currys, the Coffey, the Messier, all of them. They're all there.
All right.
All of them. Grant Fuhr.
All great
of them.
players. Yep.
Like this was the team of all teams.
Yeah.
Back in 1982, I believe it was 83 that they played the Bruins with that power outage. They were a little pissed off that they lost back then. So they took it out on Boston. So the Edmonton Oilers season, 48 wins, 17 losses, 15 ties. They had 111 points. It wasn't as big as Detroit's number 2 upset. Yeah. They had 124 that year. So this puts in perspective how good Detroit really was. But this is Wayne Gretzky we're talking, and Mark Messier and the rest. 48, 17, and 15. Kings, the LA Kings were the 8th seed. They were 24, 41, and 15. They squeaked into the playoffs at that record. Squeaked. Like, it's hard to believe that a team that bad was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully. So, the point differential was 48 points.
Wow.
So, Edmonton finished 111. LA finished with 63. And they beat them. They beat them. Stopping their streak at 2 Stanley Cups. Of course, they picked up right after again. So, but that is the biggest.
Wow. I love
upset.
it. I love it. And I had a feeling Gretzky would be in one of them.
Yeah. Like if they lose, it's astonishing.
It was, especially back then. So great list. I love it. You ready for your next week?
Oh, I can't wait.
So, I know how much you love tough guys.
Oh,
So I need your
the top
five
tough
tough
guys of all
guys
time.
in NHL because I know this list is going to be harder than any list because I know how much you love tough guys. You like those agitators, those guys that are just going to get under somebody's
Terry
skin
O'Reilly.
and love to fight. But where do they rank for you? Who are those
Yeah.
5 guys? That's going to be a fun one. I can't wait for that.
Oh,
I can't. I got to see what you do with that. So if you enjoy what you're watching, check us out live on Friday nights at 6 p.m. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter on Rhode Island Broadcasting. We are live and fan interactive. Follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, at Broadcasting RI on Twitter, Sports_Unfolded on Instagram. Don't have time to watch, listen to us on our podcast on Amazon, Anchor, Google, Spotify, and TuneIn. And you also said we're on a new platform as well, Ron?
yes, Red Circle.
Red Circle. So we're excited about joining that. If you want to join our Discord for Sports Unfolded, all of our rankings are posted on there as well as the shows. We have a big show tomorrow night at 7 p.m. The MLB baseball preview show. I'm so excited. A lot of great research is going into this, so we should have some fun with that. Kenny will be joining us for
the
that.
The baseball show,
Yeah,
follows the second episode of Pick and Roll.
Pick and Roll will be. I love it. Can't wait. This is one of our best segments we do.
And it was a dandy of one, and I'm still
can't
upset to this day because you changing your rule and then used it for your own number one.
Hey,
that was the biggest upsets of all time.
One of the biggest upsets. Okay, I love it. I love it. So, again, if you want to join us, so many different ways to join. Follow us. Ron is my hockey guru. The man knows hockey probably better than anybody I know. So I appreciate all your knowledge. We should be doing an NBA ranking show today as well. So looking forward for those rankings to come out with Kenny. And then tomorrow, our first ever MLB rankings as well. Already been a change since I've already set it up.
Yeah, can you guys take out Boston Celtics, please?
No.
So that way you don't jinx them anymore.
All right. Well, we'll see what we could do on that one. We'll see what we could do. Ron, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. Can't wait to see you. MLB preview show.
Hey, and you had a birthday yesterday.
I did. Thank you. I did.
So happy birthday publicly.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And we'll be on Friday night, 6 p.m. as well. Sports Unfolded. So much to be
Don't miss it.
over.
Don't miss it.
Big trade for the New England Patriots. We'll be talking about it. We'll be discussing that as well. And possible other candidates that should make a move to New England. So we'll have some fun next week this Friday.
Not to add on to the time here, but that means that the Patriots could draft a cornerback in round 1.
I'd still like to see linebacker.
I would too, but there's a really good cornerback that they can get, and he will be there.
Well, there's also a free agent that I'm really looking forward to.
Well, yeah.
Pairing up with Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
That we'll discuss.
Yeah.
We'll discuss. So stay tuned for that. Friday night, 6 p.m. Don't miss it. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., MLB preview show. It's going to be a big one. A big one. And your first ever MLB rankings will be released after the show. So we're really excited about that.
Awesome.
All right, my friend. We'll see you tomorrow night.
All right. Take care, everybody.